Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla. And today I'm bringing you another episode of Car Rides Wit SLA. Today's episode, I feel like should be called Healing with Schla, because that is precisely what Schla has been feeling like. Today went by in a blur, honestly. Wasn't a long day, wasn't a boring day in any way. And here we are, right back to the origin point, the common point now. It's a little bit difficult dealing with the energy change of going from feeling very open to purchasing things and indulging in that a lot and being able to talk about it. It is a very exciting energy, and I have that side of me. Obviously a sillier side, a goofier side, a more exciting side. But I think with that comes another side that is somber, serious, and even sentimental. I'm realizing, as much as my intention with this show is to create the greatest show ever, I don't know if that is ever going to be the case with me as the main architect of the show, because that does not represent the way I see things. Of course, I'm an optimizer. Don't get me wrong. Always have been. No doubt about that. But this show's supposed to be raw, real, and realistic. It's not supposed to be you tune in and you're definitely entertained. Sometimes you might be entertained, depending on the mood I'm in. But other times, the show could be soft, somber, and sophisticated. Sometimes we could delve into deep and even detrimental topics. And other times, it's a crash wave of chaos. I don't know why I'm talking like this right now. Some of the alliteration started naturally, and then obviously I'm going along with the joke, and I don't know what I'm doing, but it's good I can give myself a smile in times like these. I don't know, I just feel very uneasy today. In the morning I could tell I was off. Now I can tell I'm still kind of off, but I'm working on cultivating that skill of talking makes me feel better. I used to think that other people made me feel better and that good company was my medicine. And I think that always will be the case. No matter what, if I talk to somebody and they're a good person, calming, comforting, and most importantly, attentive, there's nothing better than good company. Quality, good company. It's true medicine that works in a better way than any kind. But one of my intentions when starting this show, I don't know if it was explicitly stated. One of my intentions was to try to convert. Yeah, I don't know that it was actually said on an episode. It was a thought I had, though. This idea that it was not the other people who brought the energy and the fire to the table. As much as through my eyes it always seemed that way, because I love people, I adore people. Sorry. I just saw a new blacked out Range Rover Sport, which is not as good as my true full-sized Range Rover that I lust after, but it still did distract me and give me a moment of lust. Of course, I had to stop and look at that thing. I couldn't just not do that. So it distracted me for a moment. My apologies. What we were talking about... Right, I remember. One of my intentions was that I'm also... Well, it started off... Really, the main idea was an additional thing about doing something for other people. It was originally going to, I can help people. I can use YouTube to help people, to hopefully give them a higher quality presence and attentiveness than maybe somebody they know could even give them, because I know how hard it is to find quality. And I really wanted to be able to give that to people. But I think that was missing the moral or the message, or not sure entirely what you want to call it. Just the direction, what brought me to be here. I think it was missing it. And I had known fairly early on, within a couple days of doing the show, that the true reason for all this is for self-cultivation and to unlock that skill of good company without actually needing another person, which I think has been a difficult lesson for me, because this whole time I've invested so much in others, thinking that that was the morally correct way, and I still believe it is. It's not like I don't believe that anymore, but to have something healing and have it independent of others, I think is powerful. And I didn't really know what my outlet was. When I was younger, video games definitely stimulated and satisfied my mind. There's no doubt about that. But as I got older, their ability to captivate me waned substantially, until it got to a point where really video games didn't really scratch the itch anymore. I realized that talking was really the itch that needed to be scratched. I learned this through playing CSGO, because I never really liked shooters. I never really played any before. I never even owned any. But at the time, some friends from school got me into it, because at the time it was the hot new game. Well, it wasn't really a new game, but it was trendy back when this was probably the peak of CSGO. But I ended up getting addicted to the game, not for the gameplay really at all, but for the social aspect. I basically would all day, if I had the chance, just be on CSGO and talking almost the whole time. And it was, I think, a discovery period for me, because prior to then, I didn't really know how much I liked talking. Although I do remember I had fantasies of becoming a Let's Play YouTuber with Pokemon. And one of the things because I always wanted to be a YouTuber, probably more so than anybody. I spent more time thinking about it than anyone else that I knew. I definitely had a very deep obsession with being a YouTuber. It was a very real thing. I don't think I knew anybody else who cared as much about becoming a YouTuber or valued that as I did. It was just always there ever since I discovered Let's Plays, and I would practice. I didn't know anything about capture cards or filming or how I would make it work, but I would pretend that I was recording, and I would talk to myself and try to be interesting. I don't know, but a lot of it was not, I wasn't trying so hard. It was just a fun thing I did as a kid, pretending to be a Let's Player. I had some interesting ideas trying to create lore by merging games together. Obviously, now as an adult, that doesn't really make any sense, but it was kind of funny. And I remember I did record that with my iPod 4. I recorded like a segment of a game and then pretended as if dying in that game brought me into a different game, and it was all recorded with that iPod 4. But obviously the camera quality was not good back then, and good times though. But I always wanted to be a YouTuber. Although I didn't really know. I was blind to my speaking for some reason. I think I've talked about this before, but I was just blind to it. People said I had a good voice, all that, but I was blind to it. I thought I wasn't good at socializing because I was awkward. Now I realize that communication is not really based on how well you are in a group. It's more based on you as a person and what you can bring to the table, etc. I'm not liking how I'm using etc. I think I'm using it too much. But then I became addicted to that, and around that time, playing games just didn't really stimulate me too much anymore, because it was a transition period. The next couple years, I didn't play as much games. If I did, it was very social. I started to spend most of my time on Discord as opposed to gaming. I don't know. And then eventually, we've gotten to the point now where a part of me resents gaming, because gaming is really an obstacle to my style. It makes people distracted and, in my opinion, more individualistic. I had talked about this in a previous episode, but to give a brief recap, regular sports, you were only limited to a handful of options: baseball, football, basketball, etc. Video games, you have a near limitless amount of options, and the specific most modern example is Roblox, where you play a game that not anybody necessarily plays, and there's not really much relatability to. There's not much of a conversation to have. Sometimes there is, I guess, because certain games get popular, but the memo of what I'm getting, I mean, you could argue about it. I understand. I guess it's not a super clear-cut perspective. That's not really the point I'm trying to get at, though. The point is true that screens, and specifically video games, have made people more distracted. Now, as a further leg of that, I think short-form content is even worse. It's even more distracting in some ways, although in some ways it isn't, because you can put it down, whereas a game you're not committed to. But I think that a game inevitably gets boring faster than short-form content. So even though you technically have zero commitment to short-form content as you would with a competitive game, sorry, my brain just bombarded me with a ton of thoughts all at once, and I don't even know what any of them were. I think we're getting caught up in talking about these things, and I'm doing my usual presentation of both sides because I like to do that. But I think for the sake of this specific conversation, I'm just going to try to operate more on a what I say. And if you disagree, that's okay. I probably understand the devil's advocate placement. Why am I position? I'm just, for the sake of me trying to get my emotions across, going to try to resort to a more singular perspective for the remainder. Don't quote me on that if that's even going to happen. I eventually ended up suppressing it. I couldn't handle the idea of being famous, the needing to push to get myself out there. Couldn't handle any of it. It was too draining. What I would do when I was younger with my YouTube channel is spend all day trying to push it, sell it, market it person by person, talking to people on Discord, talking to people in CSGO. And I said this before, I got too much slop to 200 subscribers in 2 weeks. Most people can't do that. Most people who self-promote have zero success, as far as I know. I've done it multiple times with different channels. One of my channels, I got to 780 subscribers. And I think I was probably promoting it, I want to say a month to 2 months, before finally reaching burnout and eventually just wanting to coast off of the work I had done, but that's not really how it works. You kind of need to keep grabbing people. And I just got fatigued. But this time we're just going to take a different approach. I know I'm good at promoing, but I'm a little bit too sensitive for it. It's very difficult for me to deal. I'd be a really good door-to-door salesman, for example, but the problem is my emotion overrides my potential. If I was a colder person, a stronger person, it would probably be a very good, lucrative opportunity for me, sales. And maybe I'm being shaped into that person to try to retain the emotional depth, but being able to activate the coldness when necessary, I think is probably what I'm being trained to be. But I had buried my dream for a while, for years, the past multiple years. You can see I haven't even uploaded any videos. I gave up on any type of fame ambitions, any type of public social ambitions, and dedicated all my social energy into private relationships or friendships. I thought that was my path to true happiness and fulfillment. And I just gave up with any hope or dream of being famous. Just stuffed it down. And even now, I don't know that it's reemerged fully. I'm trying to connect with myself and understand what I really want, which I assume is fame. I assume it still is to be a YouTuber. I don't know that I feel it yet, but I want to try to recultivate that again. I don't think that was just a senseless teenage dream. I think there was something more to that I always felt so deeply convicted and deeply desired to be a YouTuber and to talk. I couldn't see it at the time, though, in school. I was awkward, I wasn't popular, so I didn't see how I'd be able to do it. I didn't have faith in myself. Somebody just cut behind me really close and weird. Sorry. But we're trying to rediscover what's really going to make me happy, what is really going on. And it's important steps. We're getting somewhere. I'm working very hard. 50-hour work week. I'm out of the house for Now, I did want to make a correction, too, because there's debate about whether this is work or not. The truth is, I would only call VC with people sometimes and talk sometimes during car rides. But it may not even be for an entire ride. Somebody may have to go. And it definitely wasn't twice a day. So in the debate over, is this work or is this not work? In a way, it definitely is. Because I don't know that I would naturally gravitate to this level of output. I think there is a side of me that enjoys the ability to talk and think in full comfort. I still think I have a hard time being absolutely public about things. I'm still a little bit cautious about what I say. Again, this really is just more of a warm-up, rough draft prelude to what I hope I'll be someday, hopefully in as soon as a year. It's hard for me. I've never worked this hard in my life. I've always been lazy. I've always been told I was lazy. I'm realizing now, though, I just wasn't doing the right thing. I was doing things that were draining for me. I was so comforted by recognition, particularly in the form of views, and the addiction of all that. But I think things would have been different if I just focused on making content. And I understand that now. I understand I was too sensitive. I was too into chasing the numbers and having to focus all of my effort on views and needing that comfort. It's quite deep for me, even thinking about this. I think the thoughts that I'm putting out, they're not even things I've necessarily come to terms with myself. I think being on camera is a healing process for me. It's something where things come out that maybe don't come out just in casual thoughts. And so it's a lot to process and take in, but I do think that my life would look very different if I had just been able to focus on the art and just have trust that things would work out. And I don't think I say that with resentment. I don't think I say that with too much regret. I have to use what's happened to me. And what's happened is I was fortunately allowed to mature. I'm more mature now. So when I do and am deciding to make content, as I now am, it's probably better or more aligned with what it should have been. When I was younger, it's possible it just may not have been as good. But it would still be cooler to be able to look back. But it's all a lesson. I think my years of mistakes has all led up to this point. And it's just something I have to remember. Even though the views are low now, that's okay. I'm obviously going to continue to try, and we're going to really try to have faith in this. And it would just be so cool if a year from now, people are going back and watching through these episodes and seeing this and seeing it happen and see where I'm at. I've struggled so much with trust and faith in the process. I think it's been a strange thing because I've believed in the power of faith. I've believed in it. I went to church every week. My family brought me there. I've continued that. And I always believed in faith being a powerful thing. So it's strange that I never was able to do it. I always was focused on what could go wrong. I think I get that from my mom. My mom was always a worrier, not a warrior. Throwback if anybody gets that. It was from an earlier episode, actually. Worrier, warrior. I just think it's funny how they both sound very similar and yet are opposing. So I got that kind of an influence from my mom. And it's affected me, but there's probably a reason why I've had that and I've had to overcome it. It shapes you to be different. I wouldn't be the same person I am if I wasn't shaped in that way, if I didn't have that. And that's how I think of things now. It's been a tough pill for me to swallow. Like a lot of people in my generation, I think we get mad at our parents for not being good enough. And talking to older people, they don't really understand it. When they were younger, they never really felt that way about their own. We just see the perfect potential. And I think we fail to see that our parents are just humans, and just like us, they weren't perfect architects for everything or anything like that, really. I'm just going to say this entire time, a brand new white Corvette has been behind me. So it's been very distracting. I don't know how my communication is coming across. When I say this whole time, I mean probably like the past 5 minutes. It's a distractor, though. There's lust. He's lurching. He's doing a lot of crazy kind of stuff. I like the car. I've become more accustomed to the new Corvette. I originally was not a huge fan of it, to be honest. And I still think I like the previous iteration more, the Stingray. I just think it's designed a little bit better. But I do like it. I have to say, I think it's grown on me. I think I do like the car. It looks pretty good. But I still like the previous Corvette. That is still my favorite. It sounds nice, though. It sounds beautiful. I like it a lot. I think the white color suits it, too. I don't know that I'd get it in black. I'm not certain. But learning to to take what your parents and the flaws your parents have and to take that and learn something from it is a super important thing, I think. And I just kept trying to fight it. I kept trying to blame them for things, but that just doesn't work. I'm preemptively thinking he's going to try to pass me because we're getting to a point where there's dotted lines in the stripe. So if you hear it, just as a heads up, we may get some action. Kind of would be cool if he did, but I don't know. He'd have to pass me and this truck in front of me, so he's really going to have to floor it. But I know this thing's capable, so I think he could go for it. And there's no cars oncoming, so I kind of wish he would, but now he didn't, so Oh, he's just turning. Well, that's pretty anticlimactic. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, fighting it, blaming it, but there has to be, for instance, the main thing is I was always upset that my mom didn't work. And that's something I'm super sensitive to, and I've seen multiple times. And it's very frustrating for me. It's sad. I feel like my life would be a lot better if my mom had worked and we had the American standard of a 2-income household. But I'm realizing if that was the case, I would not have the character that I have. I wouldn't have the anger to push in the ways that I have had to push. And I probably would have just had a pretty cushy life. I would be a completely different person. And so that's why I don't think it makes any sense for me to be mad about it. That's the whole issue. I kind of believe in that idea that you are your parents. Obviously, it's more of a spiritual thing, but typically in religions, when people get married, the idea is that you become one flesh. And so people having children, you really are your parents. I am a mixture of my parents. I literally am that. I embody them and their traits. Being the middle child, I always felt like I was kind of just both of my parents. I really am both sides. My siblings are also obviously a mixture, but I think I'm the middle. You know, I really didn't like the new Countryman, but I'm seeing it now, and I kind of like it. I just saw another one. I really hated it, the way it looked in the pictures, but seeing it, I don't think it looks that bad. It's kind of growing on me, which is odd, because I really didn't like it. But I believe it, and I think, again, to hate your parents in a way is to hate yourself, and it's this whole thing to meditate on and think about. And it's a controversial thing because this is going to just smack the face of so many people. I actually think most people I know casually hate their parents. So I'm being super controversial and edgy right now. But I mean, at this point, and I used to be one of those people, like I said, I think there's lessons to be learned, and you can't really escape the fact. And I think if you do escape that fact, you're probably disconnected from your soul, and you're disconnected from who you are, because that is who you are. You are your parents. Now, it's probably, and I've been thinking this since the second it came out of my mouth, I just wanted to kind of wrap up what I was saying. It's probably easier for me than some people, because some people have bad parents, and then you may not want to connect to that. And that's fair. And I think in certain circumstances, it is probably okay to not like your parents, right? If they're a really bad person, they've done bad things directly, you're allowed to. But it's the people who just have relatively normal parents and still hold grudges against them, all that. Does it really make sense? Is it really getting you anywhere? I don't know. Just food for thought. I made insanely good time. This is the fastest I've gotten home in a while. I think the traffic wasn't that bad. Because it is now that time already for the TLDR Wit SLA. TLDR Wit SLA. Today, it was pretty somber. I kind of navigated through some things about my blindness to my love for voice. Then we went into... I don't really remember, so I'm just going to cut to the end. We started talking about parents and my hot take that to hate your parents is to hate yourself, which I'm probably going to title the video that, because that I think is very striking. Although now I kind of want to do an entire dedicated video on. I probably still will, but I think that deserves to be the title. Anyways, bye guys. SLA out.